Okay, guys, so we're doing our daily reading ready. And so we're on week 2 because we're in February, and this one goes kind of with our holiday coming up this week, the history of Valentine's Day. So obviously this is going to be nonfiction, informational, because it's talking about the history. So we have 1, 2, 3 paragraphs, and if you notice, each paragraph has a heading, which is telling us what that paragraph is going to be about. So let's start. Why we celebrate. Every February, we celebrate Valentine's Day. We give candy, cards, and flowers to our loved ones. February is a month that we celebrate love. We do this in honor of a man named Saint Valentine. Saint Valentine imprisoned. Valentine was a priest during the 3rd century in Rome. Legend has it that Claudius II, an emperor, outlawed marriage for all young men serving in the army. Valentine decided to marry young couples in secret. When Claudius found out, he put Valentine in prison. Young couples for whom he had performed marriages would send him flowers and letters in prison to thank him. Eventually, he was put to death. Another legend. In a slightly different version of the legend, while in prison, Valentine fell in love with the janitor's beautiful daughter. Before he was put to death, he sent a letter to her and signed it, "Your Valentine." People say this was the first Valentine. So, we said this is an informational piece. We have 3 paragraphs. They have headers. Remember, we talked about headers. They're bolded and they're sometimes underlined. We also have this word that is underlined. So that's telling us that that word is important. We may or may not know what this word means. So let's see. What does the word emperor mean in paragraph 2? So guys, remember, we always go back and look in the paragraph to help us figure out what the word could mean, and we have to look around that word. So here we have legend has it Claudius II, an emperor, outlaw marriage for all young men serving in the army. So what was an emperor? Was he a priest, an army serviceman, a jailer, or a ruler? So let's kind of look at what it's saying. We know he's not a priest because Saint Valentine was a priest. Valentine was a priest. So we know an emperor is not a priest. So we can mark this one off. An army serviceman. He was not an army serviceman because it doesn't talk about it didn't talk about how he served in the army. It talked about how he outlawed marriage for all young men serving in the army, but it didn't talk about he was in the army, so no. A jailer. Did he work in the jail? Did it say anything about him working in a jail? No. A ruler. That's our last one, yes, because right here it says outlawed. An emperor, guys, is a ruler. It's kind of like the person who is over the country they live in, and he outlawed marriage, so the only person who can outlaw something is an emperor, a king, a president, something like that. So he is a ruler. Okay, number 2. Which of the following is the best summary for the selection titled Another Legend? Another Legend. So let me reread it and see if we can find a summary. In a slightly different version of the legend, while in prison, Valentine fell in love with the jailer's beautiful daughter. Before he was put to death, he sent a letter to her and signed it, "Your Valentine." People say this was the first Valentine. So remember, a summary is the important information. You're retelling the important information that we have read. So let's look at A. Claudius fell in love with the jailer's daughter. So right quickly, are they talking about Claudius? No, because it says Valentine fell in love. So that one's wrong. Valentine was in prison when he fell in love with the jailer's daughter. Before he was executed, he sent her a letter signed, "Your Valentine." Maybe, because that's exactly kind of what we read. Valentine was a priest who outlawed marriage. Now, did he outlaw marriage? No. Claudius outlawed marriage. Plus, this was talking about how he was in prison. During the month of February, we send tokens of love because the priest named Valentine. Did we read any of that in this third paragraph? No. So my answer is B. Okay. The exit ticket. We're going to do this one together. So the prefix im means in or not. List two words that begin with the prefix im. It's I'm, and define them. So, or im. So in prison means in prison. So some of the other ones that I found were, let me see where I have them. So impossible. When something is impossible, it is not possible. You cannot do that. Okay. And then impolite means not polite. He was impolite. He was impolite to the teacher. He was not polite to the teacher. Okay. All right, guys.